hello, you don't have to pay attention to me yet because I think we're 2 minutes early, but better to be early than to be late, right? So for your viewing enjoyment, I'm going to stare awkwardly at the camera for a couple of minutes. I'm going to do a hair care thing in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to make sure everything was working because although we are kind of geeky, techie people, we just want to make sure that everything's working. So I'm just going to make sure you can hear me, which is really kind of weird. I can't hear anything. Can I hear anything? Can I hear anything? Hello, two other people who are here. Three other people who are here. Hello, two other people who are here. I'm just making sure this all works. And now it's turning into this weird inception thing. Okay, so I'm going to turn that muted just to make sure we are good. So you're watching live. Oh, the broadcaster and other viewers can see that you're watching too. So yeah. So
Sherry Ellison says, I can hear you.
Yay! Should I speak louder? Because I can do that. Just let me know. Raymond is monitoring the comments for the moment, and I've got my iPad here on a stove element, which I really hope wasn't on. And then
Christy Hansen-Haven says, hello, I can hear you.
Hello! Thank you for joining me. I'm going to turn the kettle on. You can have a cup of tea or you can learn how to make conditioner. Totally up to you. It's all good. Is it 1 o'clock? Should we start?
It's 1:01.
It's 1:01, so we should start. Can you hear me okay with the kettle on? That's over to the side here. If not, I can turn it off. Now I'm just staring awkwardly.
Hi Susan, so excited you're here. It says, Wendy Gathercole Dittmer?
Hello, Wendy! And you're a Patreon subscriber, so thank you very much. And also, you're lovely. And thank you for joining us. So you know what? I always believe in getting started. It's past 1 o'clock, or 4 o'clock, I guess, your time, if you're on the eastern coast, or maybe you're somewhere else. So I thought I would start today by showing you how to make a conditioner, a liquid one. I love making conditioners. They're one of my favorite products to make. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to make one. This is not the ideal way to do it. We normally want to heat and hold the way we would with lotions. And you can get the formulas for this. I will post it up afterwards on a PDF so you can follow along at home. Well, you can't follow along at home because you don't have it right now. I might have to go back in time to do that. So what I thought I'd do is teach you how to make a rinse-off conditioner with... the main thing you'll see is Incrocrap BTMS 50, which is B-heteramonium methosulfate. The 50 means that it's 50% active. The other bit of it is a fatty alcohol that will boost this positively charged conditioner to be good for your hair. It has to be positive. Our hair is negative. Our skin is negative. So when we have something that's positive, it actually does a process called substantivity, which means it adsorbs a very fine layer on your hair or skin, which is what we mean by conditioned. So that means your cuticle will lay flatter. Our power just dipped, so we're having a winter storm, which consists right now of about 2 centimeters of snow outside. But so if the power goes out, we'll be in trouble. So what I'm doing here is I'm using this positively charged ingredient, which is also an emulsifier. I'm going to put it in my beaker. I'm going to add hot water to it. This is actually distilled water. Normally I'd heat and hold, but I'm boiling today because we just need to speed things up. I'm adding panthenol. So panthenol is what Pantene is named after. It's vitamin B3, and what it does is it helps moisturize your hair and hydrate your hair without making it poof, because when your hair frizzes, that cuticle pops up and you can end up getting too much tangling going on. So I'm using powdered panthenol. You can buy a liquid version of it too. And then to that, we're also adding some hydrolyzed protein. So you can use a lot of different hydrolyzed proteins, silk amino acids, different things that will hydrate your hair I'm going to use oats because it's one of my favorites. It's quite dark in color, but you won't notice it in the finished product, fortunately. It also has a lot of these things have a weirdly slightly fishy smell. That's not abnormal, just because there's lots of nitrogen on it, and nitrogen is, and this is the wonderful part, the smell of dead fish. So, if some people notice it, I quit smoking almost 7 years ago, never noticed it before then. Then all of a sudden I stick my nose in and it's like, that's a little much. So you might notice it with the oat proteins as well. I'm going to be adding cyclomethicone and dimethicone. So these are two silicones. Cyclomethicone is thinner than water. Dimethicone is a little bit thicker. And these are the silicones. So if you were fortunate like me to live through the 80s and had big hair, you would have wanted to, I got to get rid of my frizzies. Well, silicones came along at the end of the 80s, early 90s, and that's why we all ended up with very sleek, shiny hair at that point. So those go in the cool down phase, as well does I'm using this preservative. It's Liquid Germal Plus. There's a powdered version, and we use it at 0.1 to 0.5%, so I'll be putting that in the cool down phase. So I will start by, and normally we heat and hold, so bear with me. Oh, and normally I would have glasses on, which is a very attractive look for me. I would normally put my hair back too. Oh, my ring's on. Oh, hold on a second. Don't drink. No, I'm kidding. It's kids got me, and my group got me a beaker. So it's just Sprite or something. So you want to ever get our gloves on? It'll be fun. There's like a size too small. And then we want to get my other glove. Sorry, this is the exciting glove sequence. No one will be seated during the exciting glove sequence. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, into my beaker, I don't know if you can see it. Okay, maybe I'll move this. So into this beaker, we're making a rinse-off conditioner, a liquid conditioner. I have a few different things you can make in the package, and then on my blog I have probably hundreds of hair care formulas. If you've ever seen a picture of me and my husband, you know we like hair care products. So for the first thing, I'm going to make a 6 times batch. So I'm making a 600 gram batch. I have no idea what that is in American ounces. I'm sorry. I'm going to say 20. I'm going to say it's 20. Let's just go with that. But it's 600 grams. So for this, I'm going to use 7%, which is 42 grams, weighing them on my scale. You guys probably already know this, but we don't ever do things in volume because think about it this way. If you have liquid BTMS, is that melted? Is that after it's melted, before it's melted? It's just too much of a mess. And you'll notice I do everything into one container, which is very exciting. So this is 42 grams of Incrocrap BTMS 50. You might see this as conditioning emulsifier, emulsifying conditioning. They have different names for those things. So check the INCI or INCI number, some people call it. So got my little list here, so I'm going to tick that off. I am adding to this cetrimonium chloride, which is actually a liquid positively charged ingredient, like the bihydramonium methosulfate. And the cool thing about this is it actually does wonders for detangling your hair. So before I started using this, I would have to get my mom or my husband to brush my hair after I'd taken a shower. And now I can do it myself because I'm a big girl now. So let's do this. So I'm going to use 2% of this, so 12 grams. You can get this one all over the place. It's a nice liquid one. Hold on, sorry. I shouldn't be doing these really tiny amounts. So normally what we would do is we would take this and we would put this into the double boiler and we'd heat and hold it until it melted. However, we are in a situation where you guys don't really want to see me heating and holding and all the steam and everything. So I'm going to do the quick and dirty version. Well, it's not dirty, obviously, because I have my hair back. So normally I wouldn't put my water phase in here as well, but I'm just doing that really quickly to make it easier. So this is the panthenol. The powder, again, you can use a powder or a liquid. I usually use the liquid, but I'm finding I'm liking powders more because they take up less space in my workshop. If you followed my blog for any period of time, and definitely my Patreon, because I've been talking about it a lot lately, or my Instagram, I have every ingredient in the world in my house at this point. So a couple of the girls, one of the girls from my youth program, Jessica, she's a pastry chef, so we were doing spherification, fancy cooking stuff, and we couldn't get soy sauce to work. So she said, hey, do you have any agar? And I went, do I? And I ran into the back and I grabbed it, and she said, my gosh, you have every single thing possible here. And I said, yes, I do. So I have every ingredient. So, and then I'm going to add the oat protein. Again, this is not the ideal way to do it. Well, don't forget to zero out your scale in between each thing. I forgot, but luckily 12 plus 12 is easily 24. It's where you get into things like, 81.5% water. So I don't want this to be just boiling. I ideally want it, should have put one of those non-slip thing under here because every time I touch it. So you will notice, just like a lotion, the second the water hits this, it's going to go white, and that shows you that emulsification is happening. So I'm using 81.5% water, which multiplied by 6 would give me 483 grams of distilled water. So that's that water here in this kettle. My gloves are squeaking. I think it's quite funny. So, and again, in an ideal world, you're going to heat and hold this and make sure that you're doing everything completely sanitary. And not that my husband, Raymond, he's lovely. He cleaned all of the kitchen today so it would look presentable because we had everyone over for Christmas. So you'll notice, this is my little mini mixer. So I'm going to show you this here. And can you see it's starting to change? And where it goes white, that's where emulsification has happened. I realize it's more dramatic doing the heated water phase into the oil phase, but isn't that cool? So this is just like making lotion. If you made lotion, you can make a conditioner. It's super simple. There are so many ingredients that you could potentially add to this. I just want to do sort of a basic version with you. If you want to put oils, I just said, that's annoying. If you wanted to put oils, for instance, you would put those into the heated oil phase. I've got a formula I'm sharing with you that has coconut oil. Coconut oil has a protein in it called 18-MEA, which our hair also has, and it can actually help replenish it, which is a nice thing. And coconut oil is really inexpensive. So yeah. So
if we were to heat and hold, what temp and for how long?
If you were to heat and hold this, you would heat and hold the water phase and the oil phase separately in a double boiler at 70 degrees Celsius, which I think is 158 Fahrenheit. There's a big debate, should you heat and hold for 20 minutes? I do, because it seems to make the emulsion more stable. That's just my thing. So I have a little fondue, I should have brought it. I have a little fondue pot that my husband bought me before I started crafting, that I started melting everything in, and then eventually got so soapy that we couldn't actually use it for anything. So then he bought me a second one, and I then went and used that for candles and other things. So then he bought me a third one, which we actually do use for food, but something like that. So in a double boiler, you want to do your heat and hold. And that is in the instructions on the PDF that I will be posting after this. So can you see, isn't that cool? We have, I should be doing it a little bit longer. I don't know if this noise is really irritating or not, but, oh, hi Heather. I just saw Heather. Hi Heather. I just saw you said something, and that you were vegging on the couch, I think you said today, So I have to be careful. I hurt my arm mixing things for an hour with a hand mixer. And Raymond came in and said, why aren't you using the KitchenAid for that? And I said, because I'm stupid. I totally forgot we had a KitchenAid. So in an ideal world, I actually use a hand mixer for most things because it's easier to hold. And also too, I don't need the shear. Funny story, I've only made soap 3 times in my life. The first time was in May. I know, right? I've been making things for 11 years, but, so I find I never really owned a stick blender, and the one we did have, Raymond basically made it very clear to me that that was for food, even though I was arguing, well, you could eat olive oil, lip balm, and he disagreed with me on that. He's very lovely, but he is very protective of his kitchen devices. So there you go. That is conditioner. So what we need to do, pretty simple, right? And once you make your own, you will never, ever go back to store-bought. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what is the difference between this conditioner and a cleansing conditioner? And the answer is nothing. There is no difference. There are some people will say you shouldn't have silicones, but if you look at some of the cleansing conditioners on the market, they are identical to normal conditioners, these kind of conditioners. So I've mixed it quite a bit. I'm going to let it sit to cool down because we don't want to add the silicones and the preservative and the fragrance. Oh, I didn't bring a fragrance up. But before it reaches 45, see, now I've got to do math, 45 degrees Celsius, or I think that's about 105, I want to say, 100-ish, 110 Fahrenheit. So, because, of course, our preservatives don't do well with that. So I'm going to take these off because, they're very attractive. And take these off. And if you have questions, please ask. I would love to answer any questions you have about hair care. I will show you. So this is, there are different ways you can make conditioners. There's, of course, the BTMS 50, and like I said, that you might find that as a conditioning emulsifier, emulsifying conditioner, emulsifying conditioning wax, silky creamy wax. There's all kind.
Use curly hair. People use lightweight plain conditioner. I'm assuming for cleansing than a heavier one for conditioning.
So Heather's letting me know that as someone who has curly hair, that she's got beautiful hair, by the way, that you guys would use a lighter weight plain conditioner. This is, rather than what I'm making here, which isn't really heavy, but at 7% BTMS, it's actually a lot heavier than it could be. I make a lot of them with 3 and 4% BTMS 50. If you don't have a lot of oils, you don't need a lot of conditioner. So, and I have formulas all over the blog for that as well. So thank you, Heather, for letting me know. Us. She said use. So we don't use curly-haired people for anything. We like them, and we enjoy our time with us. We're not users. So this is Incopap Bihenyl TMS 50, which is bihydramonium methosulfate. One of the other ingredients, yes, to answer the question, I do own every ingredient I can get my hands on. Because that's what I do. One of the other ingredients you might see is called bihydramonium chloride, and for some reason bihydramonium chloride is allowed by Whole Foods, but bihydramonium methosulfate isn't. There's so little difference, it's sort of a bizarre distinction. But this one's more, I've got this one here, and it's more of flakes. Here, let's see if I can put them on here, and you can see. So you can see there's more flakes as opposed to pellets. Oh God, that's such a bad smell. I was gonna fake it and go, the rich taste of dead fish, but oh good God in heaven. So Raymond's gonna grab this and he will show you. So can you see? This is more of a flake. This is called, so this is bihydramonium chloride, and the difference is the chloride versus the methosulfate. You would use it in much the same way. So he's quite enjoying. Thank you, Raymond. I had planned to prepare these all in advance, but we've got messing around with the camera and making sure everything worked. So, and then, okay, so this could be a fun one to pronounce, but stearimidopropyl dimethylamine, which you might know as SD. So this one is, it has to have the pH balanced because at a certain point it's not positive, and we want everything we put on our hair to be positive when we're conditioning. So this one is only positive when it's at a lower pH. So when you make this one up, and I have formulas on my blog for this, when you make this one up, you have to make sure that you test it with a good pH strip or with pH meter. So you can see that one there. That's sort of flaky. So there you go. And I'm making sure I put them back because what'll happen is I'll just have these shards everywhere, and ordering from the States, you guys are lovely, but when it gets to the border, it costs a fortune. I'm going to give this another hit because you can see it's got a lot of foam at the top, so I want to try to, so, are there any questions? Was there a question, Raymond, or were you just excited about conditioner? So for Raymond, I actually, and for me, I started making a conditioner bar, which we use as a shaving bar. So it's actually solid. So this is my solid shampoo bar. Yes, this is the pretty one. I gave all of them away for Christmas, so this is all I had left, which is really unattractive. But shampoo bar, so it's actually surfactants. So we'll talk about shampoo in a second. You can see this is thickening up quite nicely.
What mixer are you using?
Oh, this mixer I'm using, it's a milk frother. I got it from Lotion Crafter, and it is called the Mini Pro Mixer there. I've been actually testing mixers in January for the blog. Again, I don't really have immersion blenders, but I thought this would be way better than holding my KitchenAid for 3 hours. So there you go. I'll put the thermometer back in. Yeah, I know, that was also untidy. So this is why you need a good preservative, because you do things like not wear your hair back and put thermometers on the counter and then not. So, and then there's a few other conditioners I've been playing with over the last little while. Oh, hi Danuta. So I've got a few different conditioners. I went a bit crazy. We had a big snowstorm last March, and we were stuck in the house. They don't plow the road. Okay. I am in Canada, but we get like years without snow where I lived, Fraser Valley, which is outside of Vancouver. So in March, we were using Amazon Prime for things like spatulas, and I decided to go nuts, and I probably spent about $500 on ingredients, which I now have everywhere in my house. So I have all the conditioners now. So there's a new one I've been trying, and it's making cosmetics. It's a cold process one, and it contains that bihydramonium chloride that I was telling you about, and a fatty alcohol. And this one you can do cold. It's quite cool. Not that I don't mind heating things up, it's actually the cooling down part that's kind of a pain in the bum. Some people want to put it in a water bath. I go on and do something else. And then this is a really cool new one that Formulating Sample Shop and Lotion Crafter and Windy Point are carrying, and it's actually a green EcoCert conditioner. So there are no green EcoCert conditioners out there until now. The problem with this one, and that is what you see in this one, which is really not as thick as it looks. It's actually quite fluffy. again, I gave everything away for Christmas, so you can see it's a little bit, this one came out of my shower, which is why it's dripping water. So this one here is quite light. It's what I've got in this container, which I'll show you in a second. It's called Verisoft EQ65, and it is positively charged, but only when you bring the pH down. The other interesting thing with it is you actually can do all the phases together, but you have to keep it on the heat while you're mixing it. So if you're not wearing gloves and all the rest of that, you end up burning this out of your hand as you're holding one of these little mini mixers with it. So just food for thought, but it's a really cool one. I haven't put out a lot of formulas for it yet, just because I don't like to make something today and then share it with you a week from now, because what if it's unstable? I need to try it with different fragrances. I need to try it in different humidities and all of that. So, and of course you can tell today, yes, of course, the 3 days a year that we have no, like, low humidity, instead of me having giant, like, 80s hair, I have, like, completely flat hair. So that's another new one you can play with, and I've got formulas on my blog for that. So Raymond was laughing at something. What were you giggling at? He was being silly. So that's sort of how you make a liquid conditioner. While this, oh, no! This is where you probably should leave your gloves on the whole time, right? Okay, I'm not a soap maker, so I'm not worried about stuff getting in my eye, because I'm not dealing with lye and stuff. Like, if this gets in your eye, you go, oh, stop it, and it's really, like, not pleasant. But someone was asking me about pH of conditioners the other day. If you make something with Incroquat bihenyl TMS50 or BTMS50, Rita BTMS225, there's Incroquat CR and Incroquat BTMS25. Those are all pH balanced, so you don't ever have to worry about the pH of this. Once you start getting into these interesting new ones, stearamidal propyl dimethylamine isn't new, but it's new to me. These ones, you have to adjust the pH, and I have a really nice pH meter that I got for Christmas a couple of years ago, well, actually about 8 years ago now, that just broke, and it was a really good one, and I have another good one, and make sure you get that pH down with citric acid and all that kind of stuff. So, and then I will show you, I have to show you this. So this is actually a bubble bath, but the difference between a bubble bath and a body wash and a shampoo, they're very close in what we're using. In a bubble bath, I'm not using things like panthenol because it's a big space. I just want bubbles. I'm not using the hydrolyzed protein, but for something like a shampoo, I would. But I just want to show you one of the neat things about surfactants. You can see how thick this is. I don't know if you can see how thick it is, but it's fun. So I made one that was thicker, and I'm going to put the video up shortly, that the kids were calling a kind of crappy lava lamp. I thought it was an awesome lava lamp. I mean, it wasn't a lava or a lamp, but it was still pretty cool. So that's the kind of thing I'm going for shampoos, and I have a shampoo formula that will be in the PDF for you. And you can see, you want it, that's a little thicker than I'd like, to be honest. I'd like it a little bit thinner. But there's some neat stuff you can do with shampoos, like putting in lots of different emollients. So you can do something like glycerol stearate, or, sorry, distrate, which is easy pearl, which gives it that pearlized look. And there's lots of different ways to make that. So I thought I'd show you that as well. So, oh, Raymond is going to bring the crappy lava lamp up. Oh, someone says, what is Susan making? I am making a mess. My husband is currently showing you a shampoo, or it's a bubble bath, but it's the same idea. It's a little bit thicker than you'd want, and I am currently making a conditioner. So the other reason to heat and hold is because then you're sure that the conditioner is working. I keep stressing out right now because it's not separated. Those are bubbles on the top, but we would ideally like this to be cooling down and thickening up. You can actually see it's getting a little bit thicker, which is kind of cool. So that's what I made a conditioner. I'll have the PDF up shortly. This is a leave-in conditioner. So what is the difference between, this is just a rinse-off conditioner. This is very conditioning, but doesn't have a lot of oils in it. What you can make is something that has a little more oil in it. Coconut oil is nice, babassu oil. You don't have to go fancy or expensive to put a nice oil in it. Then I have leave-in conditioners. So this is my leave-in conditioner. Again, these things are all from my bathroom because I gave everything away at Christmas. I was not planning for this. So you can see right here, this is a leave-in conditioner. And the big difference between a leave-in conditioner and a thicker conditioner is pretty much the viscosity. So all the ones I make have 1 to 2% Incroquat BTMS50 as opposed to this one had 7. So it's a lighter amount. I still use the cetrimonium chloride, which is this liquid here that makes it easier to detangle. Sometimes I use what's called Incroquat CR, and it is one I never know how to pronounce, and that's embarrassing because I like to pronounce big words, but that one's good for being an anti-static, which is great for the kind of the humidity we have right now. Like I said, where I live, it's normally hair out to here, but not so much today. I put the panthenol in here, I put a protein in here, I put my cyclomethicone, and I put dimethicone in it, just to make sure that I'm actually getting smoothing. So that's the big difference. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, it's a spray. So this actually sprays, this has a little bit of it's not that much thicker barrel, and it sprays really nicely. And this one I use 0.5% fragrance, because these ones I'm rinsing out of my hair. This that's actually really strong. I very stupidly put in 1% of a honey fragrance oil, which is really lovely and strong, but it was just too much. So that's a leave-in conditioner. So, right.
What's your favorite for increasing the smooth feel on wet hair without silicones?
Well, the short answer is silicones, but that's not the question you asked. So there's a few different things you can use. Broccoli seed oil is really popular. It smells like broccoli, which is one of my most hated things in the world. So you can use broccoli seed oil. There are lots of silicone alternatives. You can use esters. So there's one called cocoa caprolate, which I believe is EcoCert, but don't quote me on that. It might just be green and biodegradable. Cocoa caprolate is considered, I think that's called Cetiol C5 if you get it from Croda. I get mine from a place in Quebec where, thank goodness, they're using the INCI names, because as a Canadian kid, you learn how to say things like cereal, which wasn't actually in French, because everything in Canada has to have French on it as well. So when you're really bored, you start reading Fruit Loops packets and stuff. So apparently Fruit Loops in French is also Fruit Loops. So I go to this place in Quebec and I look, and all I have to do is look for the INCI name, the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredient name, and I go, oh, that's what I was looking for. So there's lots of different esters you can use for that silky feeling. You can also use cetyl alcohol. So you can use one of the fatty alcohols. This will also help give you that silky feeling. If you're someone like me, I have a lot of hair strands, but they're quite fine now. That would weigh my hair down too much, and fractionated coconut oil is a good choice too.
Bamboo and daikon oils, bamboo extracts, all silicone subs, says Kim.
Hi Kim. The bamboo is fantastic. I have a few different versions of bamboo extract. I have an oil soluble one. I have bamboo isoflavones, which are kind of that color. I've used that one in quite a few things. For my I know it doesn't look like I have frizzy hair today, but for my frizzy hair, it's not enough, but it is still a really nice ingredient. What's also cool is if you're making something like a leave-in conditioner and you use something like a bamboo extract that is water soluble, that means you can actually use less of the conditioner. The conditioner is your emulsifier, so if you're not emulsifying a ton of oils and using more water soluble things, you don't need to use as much BTMS 50 in something, which is really cool. So I have to show you the Verisoft one. This is kind of neat. The Verisoft is one of the lightest, fluffiest conditioners I have ever seen. This is insane. So I don't know if you can see that. It's super fluffy. I love this one. I always joke around that, I watch a lot of Mystery Science Theater. I have never seen Roadhouse, but I've heard about it, and I understand the phrase, "You're my new Saturday night thing" is very popular. And that is, you can see it's really light. My hair feels really lovely and not weighed down. So I have a ton of new formulas that will be coming out about that shortly. But you can see that one's really quite light and fluffy. And, when Heather was saying earlier about not using the cleansing conditioners, which are lighter conditioners, that's definitely something that's a much lighter conditioner. And I would actually like to find people who have hair like hers, because I'd like to go, here, why don't you try this? I can't guarantee you it's going to be cleansing, but I know it'll be conditioning. So yeah. And bamboo is lovely. I really like bamboo. Apart from the fact that it grows like a weed, and so it's quite green, it's biodegradable and all that kind of stuff. I like the fact that the water-soluble version, because it's got so much silica in it, can replace I keep pointing to this as if that was a silicone. So these are my silicones here. I have a box of silicones in the back. It's terrifying. I really like them. But yeah, the bamboo isoflavones are really nice. I have that on the blog. I also have the cocoa caprolate as well as a silicone substitute. So that's a very nice one.
Says she'll try it.
All right then. I will get it to you, and I will not put silicones in it. So, and we'll talk, because I will find out from you, Heather, what you like and what you don't like, because I want to make sure that you're getting something you like, because otherwise you'll just won't use it. But you have to be honest. That's the thing. You always have to be honest and give good feedback. Not just Heather. I just implied Heather is not honest. Everybody, when you're using something as a tester, please be honest with the person who gave it to you, because that's what they want to hear. So I'm thinking, what else can we talk about? I will condition my hair. No, I'm just kidding. So, and the shampoo bar. So shampoo bars are one of my favorite things. Again, this is the ugly version of it because it's the last one I had. It was from the dregs, but this is shampoo bar. So I use sodium cocoyl isethionate and sodium lauryl sodium lauryl sulfoacetate, SLSA. So I use those two powders together and I bind them with a liquid surfactant. Mix, 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 and then I add some conditioners, I add some proteins. I don't add any silicones to this because this is not meant to be a 2-in-1. This is just meant to be a shampoo bar, conditioning shampoo bar. I love this thing. And the nice thing is you can actually use this as double duty for body wash and a lot of times for facial cleanser when you're going on camping or on holidays. And, oh, that's what I could talk about. Hey, so one of the things that's interesting about shampoos is there's all kinds of different ones. And the reason I started making things, because everything said greasy roots, dry ends, but you can't do both. You can't moisturize with an emollient, some very dry ends, which, you know, as someone who hasn't had my hair cut in, I don't know how many years, but there's different kinds of shampoos. So I wanted something that was for oily hair, and the problem was I could never find anything. So when I started making my own shampoos, I was leaving out everything that was emollient. So any oils, esters that are good in that way, I left all those things out because I just didn't need it for my oily hair. And it was really exciting the first time I washed my hair with my own shampoo that was great for it, because all of a sudden, oh, my hair isn't greasy anymore. It looked clean for the first time in years, and I was so excited about it. So that's what sort of set me off, as opposed to just looking at other people's formulas but wanting to make my own. So when it comes to shampoos, there's so many different ways you can make them. There's kind of categories. So there's the clarifying shampoo. A clarifying shampoo has no moisturizers, no emollients. It's not going to look pearly, and it won't have conditioners. So we have a couple of different, I didn't bring my conditioners, but a couple of different conditioners. If you see something like Honeyquat, polyquaternium 50 or polyquaternium 7 or polyquaternium 44, those are cationic polymers, and those are designed to be put into shampoos or to be put into leave-in conditioners where you don't have a lot of emulsifiers. That's why they actually work together. So you might add something like that at 2 to 5%, and all of a sudden now you have a conditioning shampoo or even a 2-in-1 shampoo. It's just that tiny little difference of conditioning. There's also dimethicone might be in there to be as a conditioner as well, which is kind of cool. So that's sort of the idea of the clarifying has none of that, conditioning has that, and then a moisturizing shampoo has emollients in it. So it will have things like glycol distrate, which is an ingredient called Easy Pearl, which will actually pearlize this so it's not clear. It's actually got that sort of silky, or not silky, that's the wrong word, pearly look to it. It's a pearlizer, it pearls things. So that, you can use something like that. You can use water-soluble oils like PEG 7 olive esters, olive M300. You can use water-soluble shea. You can use anything like that that would be moisturizing, something oily and moisturizing. That's what makes a moisturizer moist. So we bug our daughter because she hates the word moist, so we always yell it. So Raymond's making faces saying moist behind me. So we add those things to turn it to a moisturizing shampoo. A moisturizing shampoo may or may not have conditioners. It totally depends on what that brand decided to use. Yes, Raymond.
Kim agrees you cannot buy a shampoo without quats. This is also why I like to make my own.
And we should love to make our own, right? We're good at this stuff. And the nice thing is you get a formula. It may not be perfect for you at first, but you can make some little tweaks here and there to make it work for you. I have been teaching classes for 4 years now, and I don't know how many people I've taught, and then I've been writing the blog since 2009. And if people just sort of let me know, hey, I've got dry hair, whatever, we can usually find something for their hair type. I am designing a lot of things lately for daily use for really dry hair. I don't think dry hair should wash their hair that often. I think Heather will support me on that. But, you know, so there's all kinds of different ways to tweak these things. If you're looking for a shampoo without a conditioner, you need to look for clarifying shampoos. Clarifying shampoos do not have conditioners. That's why they're called clarifying shampoos. So
Heather loves oil-soluble shea, great in dry skin hydrating spray.
That water-soluble shea is one of my things. I absolutely love this stuff. Sorry.
Oil-soluble.
Oil-soluble shea? Is that just shea at that point?
I don't know.
Are you talking about? Oh, okay. I will wait till she cats up. Oil-soluble shea. Oh, do you mean shea oil? Shea oil is interesting. It's the fractionated component of it. So, if you've ever seen fractionated coconut oil, it's very liquidy, and coconut oil is solid.
She meant water-soluble.
Oh, yeah.
Heather also says, never wash mine, only with color treatments.
That's why I
don't
use
use silicone.
And that's the thing. So silicones aren't hard to get off your hair and they don't build up. And I'm using that term loosely because it's sort of a weird term, but they don't necessarily build up on your hair. But what can happen is if you aren't washing your hair, so for instance, I mean, I've talked to Heather, if you're just using these conditioners are surfactants. Anything that brings oil and water together is a surfactant, but these are not bubbly, foamy surfactants that we use in things like this. So if you're not using bubbly, foamy, lathery ones, it's hard to get the silicones off your hair. If you're someone like me, I use a lot of silicones. I make an anti-frizz spray, which is 90% cyclomethicone and 10% dimethicone, which is the slightly thicker one. Every time I wash my hair, I use my shampoo bar and I get all of the silicones off. So that's why cleansing conditioners don't have silicones in them, is because if you're not washing your hair every time. So yeah, what was I talking about? I was talking about conditioners. Oh, I don't remember. I like conditioners. Conditioners are great. So yeah, so when you're looking for shampoos, you want to look for something that's going to have, if you want a conditioner in it, then have a conditioner. I often will make liquid ones, and I don't put a conditioner in it because maybe I want to, I don't know, clarify my hair, mostly my scalp. Your hair type tends to be a lot about your scalp. So I've got really, really dry ends. That's because I don't cut my hair very often. I think I cut it 4 years ago. I'm not sure. I don't cut it very often, so the ends are absolutely trashed. So, squirrel! Right? Okay, yes, are you making fun? Okay, so Raymond is making fun of me, and Heather is making fun of me. I would like to point out that I have been diagnosed with ADHD, in case you hadn't noticed. So I am not insulted by this because there isn't a squirrel. It was conditioner. You know what happened? I was actually debating having a drink, and then I thought, oh.
Kim says that they have a few surfactants from Personal Formulator, sodium myric sulfate and ammonium lauryl sulfate.
Yes.
And Heather basically denies
Heather.
what she said. What? Me? Don't never.
Heather. I have got a lot of new surfactants from the Personal Formulator. Yeah, Personal Formula. I've got the sodium myric sulfate. I had ammonium lauryl sulfate. They used to carry it at Voyager, which is driving distance from here, Voyager Soap and Candle. But they stopped carrying the ammonium. So the ammonium is actually milder than the sodium is. And it actually is a little more conditioning, because what's in here that makes it conditioning is, it's called a cationic quat because it's a positively charged, cationic means positively charged, cationic quaternary. The quaternary is that nitrogen, and so it's based on ammonium. So that's why the names are things like bihydramonium, cetramonium, because it's based on ammonium there. So anything that is like ammonium lauryl sulfate will be milder than sodium lauryl sulfate. I like all of those things. I have ammonium laureth sulfate, ALES, and sodium laureth sulfate as well.
Wasn't the ammonium an easier to use SCI?
So Heather was pointing. Sorry. Oh, Heather, my heart is broken, not by you, but by the company that stopped making it. So sodium cocoyl isethionate, or SCI, is what we make shampoo bars, and it has what's called an elegant skin feel. Big, fluffy, really fluffy bubbles, and when you rinse it off, it's got a bit of a positive charge from that cocoyl part. That's actually talking about the proteins and stuff, which is really cool. So the ammonium cocoyl isethionate came in a liquid as opposed to a powder. So my favorite body wash of all time had this ammonium cocoyl isethionate, that liquid. And then the company stopped making it. And there was a lady who was selling like 3 or 4 liters of it. And I was, like this is like the last bunch you can get. It is so nice. So whenever you see sodium laureth sulfate, for instance, and then you see ammonium laureth sulfate, it's the same sort of thing, that laureth sulfate part, but that ammonium sodium part is indicates. So sodiums are less sodiums. Would it be sodia? It depends on where the word comes from, but they are less mild than an ammonium one would be.
Heather says it's creamy. Love it. But it's a pain in the artery to use.
It is a pain in the artery. Being lab person, Raymond was making that joke. It is and I like the SCI is lovely, and I'm actually working now, which is one of the reasons there's a few more cracks in here, with an SCI powder that I get from my friend Michelle. I just did it from my friend Michelle. So I have to tell you about this funny game. So I am friends with Tammy, who runs Voyager Soap and Candle. I'm friends with Jen, who runs Lotion Crafter, and I'm friends with Michelle and Keith, who run Windy Point. I always assume nobody knows who I'm talking about because I had an aunt and uncle who would say, they'd start talking about Jimmy, and you'd think, who the hell is Jimmy? And you can't ask because if it's one of their kids, and I've known them for 30 years, that's kind of insulting. So I always say my friend Jen, my friend Michelle. So every time I do that, the kids in my youth group say, drink. So they don't drink anything because that would be wrong and illegal. But it's sort of a drinking game. So if I say that, feel free to drink. So Michelle started carrying this SCI powder to make it easier to make shampoo bars. I don't find it hard to melt SCI. I find if you get it in a double boiler that has enough liquid in it and you mix it with a surfactant that actually will help melt it, disodium lauryl sulfosuccinate will, SLS, SLES, C14 olefin sulfonate, which is also called Bioturge AS40. Those will, I said sulfosuccinate already. DLS, those will all help melt your SCI better. So you could put your SCI noodles or flakes or powder, and I have owned all of them. I actually shipped it from England when they stopped carrying it in Canada because I love SCI so much. Put it in there, melt, and then add the rest of your ingredients because if you fill it up, those other things aren't going to help the SCI melt, and you just end up sitting there for 2 hours watching this thing not melting and getting more and more frustrated. The powder, you actually don't need to turn into a shampoo bar. You actually don't need to melt it. You can just add it to the surfactant, mix, and then you make yourself press it in the molds, and you have yourself a shampoo bar. Again, not the prettiest one. It is orange because that one is lemongrass, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I'm addicted to lemongrass right now. So right now the conditioner is at 60 Celsius, which is 140 Fahrenheit. So we still have to get down to, I'm trying to figure out maybe 105 or so. So that's there. Oh yes, Wendy. I love Windy Point too. Michelle and Keith are lovely, and when we go, we get to stay at their house, and Michelle and I just talk about things and ingredients. And then I'm a bad influence. So she's now carrying the Verisoft EQ because when I went there in September to teach, I brought her some samples and I brought her a package and I said, oh, you're going to love this. Please get this in. And she did. And I'm so happy. So, and that's what made this one here. So, and I think Wendy's on my Patreon. So I have a few formulas that I've done there already, but they'll be on the blog. I say everything will be on the blog shortly. That's true, but I also have a backlog of about a year. So what soon is, in my life, I mean January or June. It totally depends. So yeah. So if you were going to do it with the Verisoft EQ, you can't do this. You've got to do the heating, and it's a very specific method of using it. The bihydramonium chloride, I found you need to add fatty alcohol to it. So this one doesn't have the fatty alcohol. It has ethanol in it, I guess, is the solvent. So the fatty alcohol, so something like cetyl alcohol, bihenyl alcohol, or cetearyl alcohol for conditioners. So I'm going between surfactants. This is the ADD part of me. Use something like this, the cetyl alcohol. It boosts the conditioning power of any positively charged ingredient, cetrimonium chloride, any of the ammoniums, which is nice. And it's also cheaper. So this, I think, is $3.45 for half a pound versus, I think BTMS 50, I think it's about $30 a pound Canadian. You can get it cheaper sometimes. But so if you think about, if you're using 7% of this and then adding 3.5 grams of percent of this is way cheaper. This is like a tenth of the price of this, which is quite nice. So, and cetyl alcohol. You can get EcoCert versions. Can you get EcoCert versions? I know there's a broccoli alcohol, a brassica alcohol that you can. I'll have to look into that. So, but that's kind of a nice thing. So you can make it thicker. So if you find cetrimonium chloride, this one here, the liquid, it actually thins things out. So this conditioner won't be as thick as it would be if I left it out. So you can thicken it up if you need to in this. And when I do the one with coconut oil, if I add my cetyl alcohol and this, I end up making something that's so thick it goes into a jar. And I have pictures of this on the blog, but I ended up making one that we called a hair custard because it had sea buckthorn oil in it, and I put it in a jar, and one of my co-workers would just come by and just write on a piece of paper on my desk, custard, like some drunken goat scrawl demanding more. I don't know why I was thinking of it as a goat going, custard. And so, yeah, so I would make custard for her. The sea buckthorn doesn't really do anything for your hair. Rose hip seed oil probably wouldn't either, carrot tissue, but if you want to have a kind of light yellowy color, it's kind of fun to have. So yeah. So this may not be finished. It's not that hot in my house, but I guess it's just warm enough that it's not actually cooling down. This foamy bit here is because I used the little mixer, which is kind of like a stick blender. But when it starts to cool down and I mix it again, it'll be all creamy and it'll look lovely. I probably should have made this a little bit lower. So Well, yeah. So, do you want me to talk about surfactants or conditioner? What do you want to know about? I do love shampoo bars. They're one of my favorite things of all time. When we go camping, we make sure we have that. We use it as body wash. It's awesome. See that cute, cool glass? The kids in my group know me. I wanted to fill it full of Mountain Dew, so it looked scary and antifreezy, but then everyone pointed out that I'd have to drink Mountain Dew, and that was kind of a deal breaker. So
Sulfate-free recommendations? Says Heather.
Heather. So when you see a foamy, bubbly, lathery surfactant, often you'll see sulfate at the end of it. So if you have something that's like sodium lauryl sulfate, that's the one. It's kind of a harsh one. I don't even know where to buy it, but it's one of the main ones you see in shampoos and body washes and things like that. There's sodium laureth sulfate, which is SLES, and it is actually much milder than SLES is. And then there's ammonium laureth sulfate, those kind of things. I have a few. So I've been working with Jane Barber and Christine Wang over in England, and we've all been working on different surfactants things because, again, during that spree in March, where I bought everything that at every store possible, apparently, I bought a ton of surfactants. So part of the problem is sulfates thicken super easy with salt. It's harder to thicken other ones. So my favorite ones for my oily hair are Biotur JS40, which is C1416 olefin sulfonate. So it's not a sulfate in that sense, but it does have sulfur and it has oxygen, which is the sulfonate in it. Disodium sulfosuccinate, I love that one. DLS, disodium laureth sulfosuccinate. That's a really nice one, again for oily hair. One of the ones I've been using a lot lately are like foaming silk and foaming oat. So those are proteins. So their name will be something like sodium cocoyl hydrolyzed oat protein, sodium cocoyl hydrolyzed silk protein. So they're related to the sodium cocoyl isethionate, the SCI, the powder that we like. It's related to that, and so they're quite mild. They're really mild compared to something like sodium laureth sulfate. So that's a really good one. The foaming I made when I was out in Windy Point, we made a shampoo that was foaming silk and cocamidal propylbetaine, and it was super mild. It is a pain in the bum to thicken, but it is a really lovely blend. So there's that one. So I like the sodium cocoyl, and then there'll be protein of some sort. So foaming oat, foaming apple, foaming silk, anything that sees like foaming blank, wheat. There's all kinds of different ones. Those are a really nice choice as well. And then on top of it, so this is, I should take you into we got a bookshelf, and the top shelf is just surfactant bottles, finding different ways to thicken them. So I've been experimenting with a lot of these. Torates, that's the other one. Sorry, the sodium methyl cocoyl taurate or oleate SMO taurate or SMC taurate are really lovely for dry hair. They have what's called an elegant skin feel and hair feel. So when you rinse them, because of that cocoyl, that protein, they end up having a slight positive charge, and they end up conditioning your hair. They're really lovely choices. The downside of the taurates is they are a pain in the bum to integrate. So part of the problem is they come pearlized, so there's already an emollient in there, which is lovely. But you make it like you're thinking this is lovely, and then a week later you come to it, and it's just the pearl part has separated out. So right now, like I used to get the taurates from the herbery. I've been getting them from making cosmetics, and I'm having trouble integrating some of them into the pearlized ones. So that's a bit of a downside. I've been playing with a new one. They call it cocoa glucose at making conditioner or making cosmetics, and at Les Amis Fleurs, which is the Quebec one, I have no idea what it's called because it's in French. But that's a nice blend of a negatively charged surfactant, which we want for cleansing, the positive charge, and which we like to have a bit of moisturizing and conditioning from. And then there's the what's the third one in that blend? Oh shoot, it's cocamidal propyl hydroxysultane, which is related to betaine, but that's a really nice one. I actually just put water and thickener with it and made a really lovely body wash. And then I've been playing with the new one, which I think this is actually a lovely one for curly girls who don't want to do a lot of washing. Sorry, that sounded like you don't want to do a lot of washing. You don't want to do it because you don't want to ruin your hair. Lotion Craft is carrying one called Mirror Care Soft 313, and it's very similar. You can use it at almost 100%, super mild. The only downside is you need to drop the pH below 6.3 for it to be positively charged. That one you'll be seeing on the blog in a couple of weeks because I love that. And Raymond likes the body wash I made for it. And it isn't separating, so go me. So there are a couple of ideas, I hope. You know me, I talk too much because I get really excited about this stuff. So there's so many different surfactants and there's so many variations on them. So sodium lauryl sulfate, SLS, looks a lot like sodium laureth sulfate, but they're actually not that as similar as they might appear. So surfactants go from being very gentle, very mild, and then to harsh. And SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate, is the only one that's really harsh. The rest of them are all considered mild to gentle. So you can do all kinds of neat stuff. And then once you get all the ingredients to make, okay, let's pretend again that this is a shampoo. To make a shampoo, you can actually make a bubble bath, a body wash, a facial cleanser, even a micellar water. Micellar water? I don't know how to pronounce that, but you can make one of those because you're just changing sort of the proportions of them. So for someone with dry hair, you might have 10% surfactants total. And if you're looking at someone like me with oily hair, you might have 40% surfactants total.
Kim asks, what about the oxides?
Oxides? Do you mean like the cocoa propyl oxide? And I have, what's the other one I have? I have 2 oxides. I'm trying to think what the other one is. Myristamine oxide. So those are non-ionic, if I'm not mistaken, and they actually add the emolliency. So for my really oily skin, and for Raymond's really oily skin, I actually use the myristamine, I'm going to say, I know I'm saying that wrong, myristamine oxide to help behave like the water-soluble shea we were talking about earlier. It's actually an emollient that will mix in beautifully. It leaves you with a clear product, but it gives you a lot of emolliency. Those are both supposed to thicken. However, I have not found this to be the case in with some of the surfactants I've been playing with lately. I've been playing a whole whack of weird ones. So you look curious, Raymond. He's trying to read. Oh, Mike, I can't find me. Oh, I got myristamine oxide. Oh, this is so weird having one glove on. I got the myristamine, I know I'm saying that wrong, oxide from the Personal Formulator. They may not have it at the moment, but that's where I've traditionally purchased it. And then the cocoa propyl oxide. I know that's not the one I have. Shoot, I just bought this one. I've only just started playing with that one, so I'm not that familiar with it. It's not thickening. These surfactants are a pain to thicken once you get out of those sulfates, and so normally I just use Crothics or salt, but I'm having to try to find different ways to do that. So, but I like that one. I will look to see if it's on Personal Formulator though, and see if I can find it for you because it's a lovely. I love that. I've used it up to 10%, and then one time I did 5% and 10% of that and 5% water soluble shea, and that's the one Raymond always goes, "That's my favorite. Could I have more, please?" And I say, "Yes, you can," because it's at me.
What is the desired pH for shampoo and conditioner? Says Sherry. Kim says 5.5.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It depends. So the more virgin your hair is, the lower the pH is. So for instance, virgin hair has about 3.7, and some hair types can get like over 6 depending on how much treatment they've had. A lot of the chemical treatment, relaxers, perms. I don't know if anyone gets perms anymore, but things like that can. So in an ideal world, we're looking for anywhere between 4.7 to 5.5, give or take. You can go as high as 6 with conditioners. The main thing with conditioner is to make sure that you've got the pH wherever it needs to be, because we were talking about the Verisoft EQ. It needs a lower pH. So yeah, I agree with Kim. It needs to be 4.7 to 5.5-ish. You know, I have to actually, on that note, tell you a funny story. It's probably not that funny, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So for the conditioners, I have used Incrocrop BTMS 50 for 10 years. So now that I've been playing with the stearamidal propyl dimethylamine SD, let's call it SD, and the Verisoft EQ, where there need to be, the pH needs to be much, much lower, I've realized how much I get soap and stuff in my eyes because you get a bit of this that we're making today and you go, whatever. It's like practically no more tears because the pH is a decent, you know, whereas these ones, the second they get in your eyes, like, oh God, I can't see anymore because you've got this ridiculously low pH. It's not hurting your eyes, but it just, I guess I'm just as sloppy when I'm washing my hair as I am in real life, basically.
Heather says, who are these people with virgin hair? Don't they have grays?
I have virgin hair. Okay, this isn't probably helpful. I don't dye my hair. I just turned 48 last week, the 21st. I have lots of gray. I worked for a lady named Mrs. Edwards, and she had, she used to wear her hair in a bun, white hair. And one day she was sitting down and she let her hair down and it just cascaded down and she looked like a nice princess. And I decided at that point I wanted really long hair. And I also didn't ever want to dye my hair because I hate going to the hairdresser. They want to cut your hair all the time. So I have lots of gray hair, which I'm quite enjoying, but I'm not actually going gray as much as I'd like. All my friends are like, oh, I'm going gray. I'm like, I want to go gray hair. So I technically have virgin hair. The ends of my hair, however, get caught in my dog's mouth and doors and laptop cases, and I shouldn't wear earrings like this. So I actually trash the ends pretty badly also. I don't get it cut. So I actually do have virgin hair. So does Raymond. He has virgin hair too. So yeah. And I don't dye my hair just because it's a pain. I used to dye my hair pink, which I loved, but that required going to a hairdresser, and then my hairdresser went away, and I would have to run the risk of getting the I had a mullet once, not by choice. That person got fired, the hairdresser. And one woman just before my wedding decided to dye my hair. Instead of giving me streaks, she just dyed it a bleach blonde. So that was great, especially when you have giant eyebrows like I do. So you can never ask me a question and not get a 2-minute answer, I swear. You want to have things that are in the 4.7 to 5.5 range, give or take. That's kind of what you want. So my just so you know, conditioner wise, we are at 55 Celsius, which is 130 Fahrenheit or so. So this still isn't ready to mix. So I may actually just have to finish it after this, and then I can show you pictures of it afterwards, which kind of stinks because it would be nice to see that. Or maybe we'll take a little video, and I can post a little video as well. So, because I realized that it is 1:53. Seriously, I just rocked with. You know, Raymond is lovely. He is the most wonderful husband. Like I said, he cleaned all this area. He's so sweet. But he can only listen to these things for so long, for me talking about different conditioners and positively charged things and such. And so it is lovely to, even though I'm just seeing what you're typing, it is really lovely to be able to talk about things that we all love so much. So, and this is what I do. This is actually my job now. As of was it November 15th? I quit my job as a family counselor for many, many reasons. And so now this is what I do. So I like doing this. I like making conditioners. So, FYI, algal betaine, at Essential Wholesale. Very nice, Kim. You know what I'm wondering? I got a betaine, which is actually a sugar-based humectant, and it's just called betaine. It's from the Les Amis Fleurs, so I just know what the INCI is, but I know it's a powder that I can actually add that's a sugar. So that would actually be the betaine, which is the humectant, which is what would be attached to the cocamidopropyl part of that, the cocamidopropyl betaine. But I may have to do not your bad influence, and I'm going to go spend more money at that. But there, it's a compulsion. Raymond's giving me a thumbs up saying, go spend some money. He's very lovely that way as well. She's very nice. The Fahrenheit thing, I have to tell you, I had a lady come to one of my classes, and she was American, and she's lovely. So she gets it, we're doing everything in the microwave. I don't like the microwave, but that's all we have a choice. So she pulls it out and she says, I said to get up to 70 degrees, the oils. And she goes, oh my God, it's 100. I'm like, holy crap. I don't know why things aren't smoking and buzzing. And it was 100 Fahrenheit, not 100 Celsius. So at 100 Celsius, water boils and it's bad, whereas this was just slightly over 40 degrees, so it was fine. But it was one of those moments where I thought I might have to learn how to do this in Fahrenheit as well, just to explain to everybody and not leave anybody out. So I am trying to do that. Actually, we're at 50, still a little higher than I'd like. So Liquid Dermal Plus you can add at 60 degrees Celsius or lower, but some emulsifiers are picky about it, like Retamulse SCG. If you put it in before 45 degrees Celsius, I don't know what that is American anymore, let's say 110 American, give or take, or Fahrenheit, it will end up destroying your lotion, which I found out with a kilogram of Christmas lotion, which was just awful. So this is why I'm really picky about these things. Dimethicone, in theory, can actually go in some types of dimethicone can actually go in the heated phase. Cyclomethicone, on the other hand, is what's called volatile, like alcohol. So if it's put in too high, it'll actually start to evaporate a little bit. And then fragrance and essential oils, we don't want to do those ones warm. So, come on. This is almost there. It's very frustrating. So do you have, thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. Hi, Kathleen. I saw you were on there too. Hi, Kathleen. So do you have any questions about shampoos, conditioners, my new awesome
boxes? Have you used any PEG silicones, asked Heather.
Yes, I have. I have PEG 8, dimethicone. I absolutely love it. Again, it's you can use it in water-soluble situations, so I really like that one. And I have another one that I haven't tried yet. I'm trying to work through my book. I'm not kidding. I used to have, these were all the silicones. Oh, that's not a silicone. Yes, it is. These are all the silicones I had for, 11 years. And then all of a sudden now I have a box like this of silicone. So I like the PEG 8 dimethicone. One of the bonuses is supposed to be because it's water soluble, it actually washes out of your hair better. Have you tried that one in anything? Now we'll look awkwardly at the camera until Heather responds.
Is that the raspberry dimethicone?
I think that's what it's called, yeah. I think that's what they, because the herbery calls it raspberry dimethicone. It's a water-soluble dimethicone. I think it may be the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing, yeah. I like the PEG 8 personally. One of the downsides for many, many years, like I said, if UPS has to deliver something to your house in Canada, and let's say it's a $30 item, when they come to your house, let's say there's $3 in taxes on it. They will then charge you $23 because they charge you $20 to establish that you need to pay $3. So a lot of us try not to order too much from the States because it just gets expensive. I bought from another company down there many years ago, and I ended up paying on a $100 order about $150 for shipping and all the rest of that stuff. So I haven't used a lot of that. However, we just live near the border. Every Canadian, 80% of us live within an hour or 100 miles of the border. So we started going to the States to pick stuff up, which is really nice. So I'm going to be using more of the PEG 8. Again, I'm going to say shortly for everything, but I really like that one.
Heather says, but I know there is a quat, maybe 81, that is a double-ended molecule, so somewhat water soluble, but I haven't tried it.
Okay, now I'm really interested. You're a bad influence. I wonder. Okay, do you mind if I go run and get my notebook? I'm gonna run and hold on. I'll go see if I have it. Sorry, I just figured rather than sit here and pretend. So these are my 2 notebooks. This is the research book, and it says urea. Compound interest. I get cool stickers from them. So I'm going to just look up quickly what I have. So this is, these are all kinds of new ingredients, just page after. These here are my recent ones, and these are just thickeners for surfactants. So I've got a lot of stuff here, but let's see what I have for silicones. PEG 8 dimethicone I have. Just trying to see what else I have here. Oh, that's not it. Oh, I have something Silderm formulating, or is that one that's called Silderm conditioning cashmere, so I'll have to look that one up. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head. I think that's it. So I don't have raspberry silicone, but I think it's the same thing as the PEG 8. And I have phenyl trimethicone, but that's not. So yeah, so those are, almost all of this is silicones. There's a few oils and esters in there, but so yeah. So I'm sorry I don't know that one off the top of my head, but I would be happy to look into it and then go spend some money to buy it, because that's what I do now. I like silicones. They're really lovely for facial products, for making primers and things like that. It isn't just for hair care. So if you want a quick anti-frizz though, 90% cyclomethicone and it's that weird noise. 10% dimethicone into a spray bottle. You have an anti-frizz spray. Yay! And again, this is not a testament to it because it's so dry here right now. So yeah. So this still isn't. Oh my gosh, it's still at 50 degrees. I'm going to give this one more shot just to see. Did I mention I was klutzy? I'm going to give this one more shot just to see if I can get it to cool down a bit. I don't think it's cooling down. I don't know why this is so hot today, but so I would normally use for something this size, would actually use a mixer, but I like this little mini mixer. I bought a few of these. One of the ones I got from my friend Janet Lotion Crafter. One of the ones I got from her is small enough that it goes right into a bottle, which is really cool.
Kim asks, I want to know the cocoa betaine 2 types.
So there is cocoa betaine and there's cocamidopropylbetaine. So the key there is the imidopropyl part. The amido part indicates that it comes from a protein. The other version, cocoa betaine, is coming from cocoa fatty acids. So it's not as amphoteric or potentially positive or negative compared to cocamidopropylbetaine. When it's being used at acidic levels, actually ends up being more conditioning because that protein adds some of that positive charge to it, which is really cool. They both increase mildness. They both increase viscosity, although cocamidopropylbetaine is way better at that than the cocoa betaine. But that's the key, is the amido part is the important part. That's your protein part that you need. And anything that has a protein in it, so the sodium cocoyl isethionate or hydrolyzed protein, they're always going to be milder than something like cocoa betaine that doesn't have the amido part in it. I love the betaines. I absolutely love them. I just bought, well, I did just bought, it was in March, cocamidal propyl hydroxysultane, which is a relative of it, but is a higher pH. So that one you've got to play with the pH a little bit, but I'm quite enjoying that one too. It's quite, makes it milder. And so there's a lot of stuff will be coming out in surfactants over the next year. I realize that seems like a long time, but again, working with Jane, Barbara, and Christine, we've all been pooling our resources to go, what thickens that? So I was joking, we need a Facebook group just all about thickening surfactants. So.
Heather adds, cocoa betaine can be added to conditioner for a mild cleansing boost.
Yeah.
And is used in some cleansing conditioners.
And that actually, so if you actually go on my blog, there was a lady who took a class with me, a hair care class with me. And then she showed up for this same class shortly, like the next time I offered it. And she said, well, I really need to make a conditioner. And she had African hair type. And so I said, well, let's show me what you like. So she showed me a cleansing conditioner she liked that had cocamidal propyl betaine in it. So I said, okay, well, let's do it. We can work with that. So on my blog, the formula that I worked out with her is on the blog. If you look up a cleansing conditioner and look up betaine, and you'll find it on there. I can't remember. I've got 2,900 posts. I don't know where anything is anymore. It's crazy. And only 300 of them me like complaining about traffic and stuff. So yeah, they're really nice in cleansing conditioners because you don't need a ton of foaming for that, but it's just enough that it does this thing called a roll-up mechanism, which is how these foamy, bubbly, lathery surfactants wash your hair and skin. And it's the idea that it basically brings it all together and then you rinse it away. So you got to have that slight negative charge, but you know, we can have something like the betaine that can actually do that too. It'll break down some of the sebum in your hair. And we live in a farming community. Like if you were to look outside right now, look, the cows aren't there, but that's usually a big cornfield because apparently Chilliwack's world famous for corn. So suck it, Mitchell, South Dakota. We went there and they're like, we're the corn capital of the world. No, Chilliwack is the corn capital of the world. We brought it and then we apparently dropped a mic of some sort and then walked away and enjoyed the rest of the day in Mitchell, South Dakota. But we normally have a farm across the road, so there's always dirt and everything in the air. So it ends up, we're not quite the country, but the air pollution isn't great here. So I always make a point that I have to get all those things, all the soil out of my hair, as it were. So
Kim says I always need to address static charge in my hair.
Haha! So when the humidity is low, that's when you get problems with static because our hair is negatively charged. So what happens is it builds up a charge and then the hair strands are repelling each other. So that's where you can use a conditioner like TMS 50, which is a good anti-static. Cetrimonium chloride, the liquid, it's a really good anti-static. And then the one, Incroquat CR, oh God, I never remember how to pronounce it. Sterylconium chloride, that's it. Sterylconium chloride. It actually makes cream rinses. Anyone remember those from the 70s? So it actually makes cream rinses, but it is phenomenal with static. So what I do for, especially my leave-in conditioner this time of year, I'll use 1 or 2% of the sterylconium chloride with the B-heteramonium methosulfate, or now I'm using a lot of the Verisoft, and that actually stops. So that's the thing is when your hair isn't properly conditioned with that positive charge around the outside, it'll start repelling each other. So you have to make a point of, we don't get much static here, but about 2 or 3 weeks out of a year, it'll be so static. I have pictures of Raymond, just his hair all standing up because of it. So sterylconium chloride's another good one. This one, the steramidal, I never remember this one, steramidal propyl dimethylamine. This is a good anti-static as well. One of the polyquats, I think it's polyquat 44, I'd have to check on that, at 0.5% is supposed to be really good at repelling static as well. It's all about reducing that charge, right? So you want to go from that one. So yeah. Oh, we've gone over. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You guys probably have lives and dinners and things that you want to do. Oh.
What's good for frizz halo? I think my grays don't like to behave worse than my curls.
Part of that is because gray hair actually has a different kind of thing going on with it. Gray hair tends to be coarser and has more cuticles. So when you have hair like my gray hair will just sort of, do that weird curly thing. My grandma's hair was like those Barbies I used to get as a kid where you could curl their hair and it was just like wire. So what you can do for frizz, I know you don't want to use silicone, so we have to find something else. So the bamboo isoflavones are good for reducing frizz. You can use something like the PEG 8 dimethicone is good for it. You can use cocoa caprolate. So any of those silicone replacements are going to be good for that. The PEG 8 is good for it too. And then also for frizz, consider, you're already using a lot. Well, you're using, okay, so Heather and I talked about this at the conference. You were using the flaxseed gel, which it might be a bit of a humectant, which you probably need, but then makes the grays go out of whack. So I'm not really sure what you would do for that versus, because you don't want to use a lot of silicones, because silicones are like my go-to. So I would say, can you try broccoli oil, even though it smells like broccoli? Or the bamboo isoflavones. So you can do something like that in a leave-in product. Maybe in your if you're using the flaxseed gel still, maybe try a little bit in that. That might help. You don't use do you use cationic polymers? You know, like the polyquats and honeyquat and things like that, because that would also be a good choice as well. So maybe we should figure something out. I like formulating for all different hair types. So holy cow, I've gone way too long. I'm sorry. I'm sure people are like,
Heather says, I use
broccoli
seed
yeah.
oil refined, doesn't smell as much.
Yeah, it does. It's awful. I hate so I don't like brassicas. I don't like sulfur. I don't like brassicas. I don't do mustard or cauliflower, broccoli. Or, as you can tell, I clearly don't eat my vegetables. And I find even when I had the broccoli seed oil, I only had a little bottle of it, and it was just like someone ground up broccoli and put it in a bottle and then decided to torture me with it. And then also had a cat pee near it or something. It was just awful. So if you enjoy that, that's a good choice. But for me, it's awful. I don't like it. Having said that, I've been using some of these brassica alcohol. I use the brassica alcohol and the brassica glycerides, I think I've used so far. And they don't smell a lot. Like once you've melted them down, they're actually okay. Whereas I could still smell the broccoli. It was awful. I just don't do that. Oh, and cauliflower, they're just awful. So I'm at 50 degrees here. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'll just finish off this wonderful time by just measuring this last little bit, and you can see what it looks like. Does that sound okay? And then I can try to answer questions or what have you as we go. So I do 2% cyclomethicone, 6%, so I'm using 2% cyclomethicone, which acts as a nice anti-frizz. For my hair mostly I need a little bit more anti-frizz. Right now I don't. Went over by a gram. It's not that big a deal. In my classes people regularly go, oh no, I went over by 1 gram water, and I think, okay, but you have 600 grams, so not that big a deal. Next time we do this, Raymond, we need a non-slip on here. So I'm going to add the dimethicone. There are all kinds of different weights of dimethicone. This is 350 centistrokes, so 5 is very low. I have one called dimethiconol that you actually have to cut with a knife. It is so thick. It's really quite cool. So that's that one. I did not bring a fragrance oil out here. So I use a lot of the time, I use my oily hair blend, which is equal parts lemon, cedarwood, sage. What's the fourth one? I never remember the fourth one. Oh, rosemary. I use that, and then I'll use it at 1 to 2% in a conditioner. And then this is Germall Plus. Because this is positively charged, if you want to change from the different preservatives, you're going to have to look at which ones can handle it. I know Phenonip and Germaben 2 work.
Kim has different viscosity dimethicones from Lotion Crafter. How, when to use these?
Oh, all the time and regularly and all the time. I love, that's where I got all these new silicones from, is Jen brought me some, and then I ordered a ton of them. There are different applications for them. So a lot of the ones that are called elastomers, which are like gooey, really gooey, those ones actually are supposed to be used in a lot of mineral makeup stuff, but they can be used in facial moisturizers. They're not for hair. Because the elastomer part, if you've ever used a makeup primer, you'll notice that it's really silky. That's what the elastomer brings to the party. So dimethicone is already that dry silkiness, and then the elastomer actually makes it even more so. I've got one from Jen called Optiblur, which I've put into a bunch of different primers. So the kids in our youth program, I say kids, some of them have been with us 12 years, so they're 24 now, but they're our volunteers. But a couple of the girls wear a lot, they love all the elaborate makeup and all that kind of stuff. Like our daughter had put snowflakes all over her face for Christmas Day. It was lovely. So she uses a lot of primers, and they absolutely love things like those elastomers, the EL40, EL41, EL51, EL61. I've done primers with all of those. And then now this Optiblur, they're just lovely. I really like those. So I'm just going to mix this for a second. So yeah, if you want some ideas for how to use them, I have some on my blog, but I'd be more than happy to share some of the stuff I've been working on. You know what? I love this little mixer, but it really is not the best choice for this. A big batch. If this was 100 or 200 grams, it would be very good, but this is driving me nuts. But you can see, okay, so this is where you get the spoon. And again, I am not doing the best practice here. I appreciate when you're at home that you want to do all the you guys know all that stuff, especially you soap makers, you know what you have to, all the safety stuff you have to do. It's easy to be lax when we're doing things like this. So this, because it's got cetyl alcohol, which doesn't start to thicken until 49 Celsius, this isn't going to be thick enough until it could be as late as tomorrow, but there you have it. This is very thin though, and it shouldn't make this much. These little mixers put a lot of air into them. That's just why I like the beaters. But you can see, ta-da, there's conditioner. And you can see it's really quick to make. And if you wanted to do this with an oil, for coconut oil, that kind of thing, you actually just, you're doing it in the heat and hold. So emulsify all those kind of things in one, and then bring them together. But there's a conditioner. This is a nice one. I like this one. It's a little heavy for my hair, but it's quite a nice one for winter. It is way more foamy than it should be. So Raymond's actually gonna bring it. It's a little warm, Raymond, so be careful. So there you go. I love kid, and I have many more. So just so you know, I probably should have started with this. I don't take advertising. I don't do affiliate links. I don't do sponsoring. I don't do any of that. I want to be a free agent so I can tell you what I like. I do get sent free stuff. Formulator Sample Shop gives me stuff. I'm friends with Michelle. I'm friends with all these people, so they share these things with me, and it's lovely. With Jen from Lotion Crafter. Jen from Lotion Crafter. These are incredibly generous people who've. I had a really rough year, and they have just been so amazing. And so I buy a lot of stuff. I also get sent a lot of stuff, which is lovely. So I get to play with all these things. But yeah, so if I suggest I like something, it's because I like it, not because I'm getting paid to do it. Or I like it when you give money to my friends at their stores, because then they can get more lovely things. But I'm not affiliated with anybody. And being this is my job now, people always say, well, don't you want to take ads? No, because I don't want that one weird trick you can do with coconut oil stuff on my blog, because I want to do sciencey stuff. So that's why I use beakers, so it looks more sciencey. It's very cool. So yeah. Oh, of course not. I don't want to compromise. You know what? I hope that you can trust what I say. And if you don't like what I like, that's okay. That's why I have dozens of different formulas for dozens of different things. Because if your hair doesn't like this, someone else's might like this. So but my goal is always to provide you with as best information as I can. Sometimes I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. But that way we can all work together to make some really cool stuff, right? So I am going to be at the conference in Atlanta, Georgia, which is very exciting because I never thought I'd actually ever go to Atlanta, but I understand from Futurama that there's mermaids there, apparently. So we'll be there in May, and I'm doing an intensive, I think they call it, a facial products class, so it's a hands-on one. And then on the advanced track, I'm doing Beyond Emulsifying Wax, so learning how to make advanced lotions. Oh, what's wrong?
Dude asks if we can show Sasha.
Sasha, our little doggy Sasha, is at doggy daycare today with her. We call it squad because she's with her little friends and stuff. So we actually take her on Monday and Wednesday. And also we figured if she was here, seriously, Sasha is nonstop play all day long. You have two ultimate extroverts who have this ultimate extrovert pup. But I'll take a little video with her later on and you can see her. She's very cute. Oh, what conference is it? Well, I'll tell you. The Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild, the group you're on at the moment, this is the conference, the one in May that's happening. So there was one in May in Las Vegas, which was epic, except way too hot. And I understand they're going to Texas in a couple of years, which is always going to be too hot. And then this one's May in Atlanta. So they do these intensives where they have the day. You register at like 6 o'clock that night. So during that day, you have something where you do a hands-on thing. And then they're doing an advanced experts panel. They've invited me to do it, which is crazy because I'm not an expert. And then I'm going to be doing Beyond Emulsifying Wax, which will be all about how to make lotions with things other than emulsifying wax. And also incorrect BTMS 50, because there's so many formulas out there for that. So, yeah.
Here's a picture of Sasha.
Oh. Sasha's very cute, but writing and working in the workshop is just... Oh, there she is. Aw, that is a cute picture, Raymond. That's a very cute picture. Sasha's a lovely pup, but she definitely takes all of your energy and time. And she would just be standing here. I would be holding her. She stands in my bra and then perches on my shoulder. Oh my gosh, we should... Okay, I have nowhere to go, but I have a feeling you guys do. So thank you for joining me. And again, I'll just do the last little bit. You can see when it thickens, so you can get an idea of how thick this lotion is, or the conditioner is. And in about 10 to 15 minutes, I will get up the PDF so you guys can download that. And so thank you so much for joining me and enduring my weirdness and making really cool hair care products like this lava lamp.